No more red, yellow, or green. The country is suspending the COVID-19 risk classification for inbound travelers beginning next month as the Omicron coronavirus variant spreads to the regions. And it's LeBron James versus Kevin Durant again for this year's NBA All-Star Game. Controversy surrounds the release of the decision on the disqualification case against presidential aspirant Bongbong Marcos. It's escalating even further with the infighting now turning personal. Our Melissa Lopez joins us live. Melissa, tell us about these developments.
Yes, Pia, a leader of the political party backing Bongbong Marcos's presidential bid, is seeking penalties against COMELEC Commissioner Rowena Guanzon for prematurely releasing her vote on the disqualification case ahead of the release of the official decision of the First Division. Partido Federal's General Counsel George Briones blasted Guanzon's move and called for her disbarment from legal practice. He said her retirement pay should also be forfeited for, quote, illegally disclosing her vote and preempting the full decision on the case. Briones also called out Guanzon's undue interest in the 3 cases blocking Marcos's candidacy and even described Guanzon as an, quote, incorrigible narcissist for drumming up noise through her Twitter account. Briones also asked COMELEC to investigate Guanzon's actions, but the poll official says she can only be removed through impeachment. Guanzon responded with a barrage of tweets against Briones and challenged him to a televised debate. She also warned Briones and members of the party may be cited in contempt for threatening a sitting commissioner. Briones eventually declined Guanzon's invitation for a debate after learning they come from a partner fraternity and sorority in their alma mater, the University of the Philippines. But that did not stop Guanzon from venturing into personal attacks against him. An exasperated Guanzon has been attending media interviews since Thursday to disclose her vote to disqualify Marcos and to put pressure on her fellow Commissioner Amy Ferolino to already rule on the case. She even accused Ferolino of having been influenced by a powerful politician to deliberately delay the case. Guanzon said she suspects Ferolino is waiting for her February 2 retirement, which may render her vote useless. The hashtag #IStandWithGuanzon was among the top trending topics on Philippine Twitter Friday afternoon. Petitioners behind the Marcos disqualification cases also welcomed Guanzon's vote, but expressed concern about the alleged interference.
The credibility of the COMELEC, the credibility of the May 2022 elections, it is at stake. Pasilip lang ito sa pwedeng mangyari na kung ang mga commissioner hindi independent, kung ang mga commissioner magpapasuway sa influensya o sa takot.
Kung may hologarchy noong 2004, nagtatanong lang po kami sa Karma, meron po ba ngayong Hello Ivy?
Victims of martial law abuses who are behind the case are also seeking a congressional probe into this controversy. Back to you, Pia.
Mel, why is the decision, as alleged, being delayed beyond Guanzon's retirement? Does that mean her vote will no longer be counted?
Yeah, that's a possibility, Pia. Both Attorney Calleja and election lawyer Romulo Macalental interpreted that if the decision is indeed withheld until after Guanzon's term, her vote will no longer be counted, and that it will either be left with the 2 remaining commissioners in the division, that's Ferolino and Commissioner Marlon Casquejo, or they can opt to wait for a new appointee to join them. In that case, the decision will be further delayed, since that new appointee or new commissioner will still have to settle into the job and then study the case and all the evidence before he or she can render a vote. Pia.
Melissa Lopez there reporting. Lawmakers and aspirants are reacting to Commissioner Guanzon's claim that a senator may be behind the delay in Marcos's disqualification cases. Vice presidential aspirant and Senate President Tito Soto says it's best if Guanzon names the senator involved. Otherwise, all of them are suspect. Soto adds if there is proof of interfering, he will ask the Committee on Ethics to look into the matter. Senator Bato de la Rosa agrees, saying Guanzon should also release evidence to prove her claim. Presidential aspirant Leoty de Guzman echoes the call to drop the name of whoever is interfering in the cases and file charges against the person if necessary. He also raises concerns about Commissioner Amy Ferolino as missing in action, saying Ferolino should fulfill her duties, which includes immediately releasing the Conflict Division's decision. An anti-cybercrime agency tells lawmakers it found no evidence Comelec servers were hacked, but believes there was a breach in the system of its software provider, Smartmatic. Undersecretary Cesar Mancao of the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordination Center refused to disclose details at the public hearing of a joint Congressional Oversight Committee. The panel granted his request for an executive session instead. CNN Philippines trying to reach Smartmatic for comment. Meanwhile, Comelec laid fears the supposed breach would impact the May 9 elections.
It's Smartmatic. We believe that their system is compromised and that we are not also accusing them for doing it themselves. At this moment, we know that there cannot going to be an external or internal threat actors that in play. We have identified the group that claimed, and we have sufficient artifacts.
The participation of the provider is more on just providing the software itself. We do not give them information. The event that there are hacking incident, allegedly hacking in this incident in our provider, we are pretty much sure that the election is still intact because we do not provide them any information or any sensitive data information.
A number of agencies are looking into the alleged hacking of Comelec servers earlier this month. The Department of Information and Communications Technology says no one could have accessed 60 gigabytes of data as reported by the Manila Bulletin. Here's an update on some presidential aspirants. Former Senator Bongbong Marcos misses another presidential interview, this time with radio station DZBB. Management announced the interview will not push through 30 minutes before the supposed airing. Marcos also missed his online caravan for the transport sector. His team says they're having a difficult time contacting the presidential hopeful in Tagum City. His sister, Senator Amy Marcos, subbed for him in the interview instead. In his interview with TV host Boy Abunda last Thursday, Manila Mayor Isko Moreno said two of his rivals are also good options for the presidency, while two others are only out for revenge.
Bakit hindi dapat iboto si Senator Lacson?
Pwede naman boto rin, ma.
Senator Pacquiao?
Mabait naman siya, okay naman.
Si VP Lenny?
Maghihiganti sa mga Marcos at Duterte.
Senator Marcos?
Maghihiganti sa mga Dilawan at Pinklawan.
Bakit ikaw ang dapat iboto?
Hindi ako maghihiganti kanino man.
In the same interview, Moreno said he is against abortion, even for rape victims, as he believes only God can take away lives. Senator Ping Lacson thanking Moreno for his remarks about fellow presidential hopefuls. That's according to Lacson's camp, which also said the senator finds merit in Moreno's desire to lead without vengeance. And Senator Manny Pacquiao asserting he is ready for the presidency after Vice President Leni Robredo claimed his sincerity is not enough for him to gun for the country's top post. Pacquiao says he will not run if he didn't know how to solve the country's problems. Robredo has said she only responded honestly to what she thought about her rivals during her interview aired last Wednesday. Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas or KBP in partnership with CNN Philippines and other member networks will gather presidential aspirants in a forum next Friday, February 4. Moderated by senior anchor Rico Hizon and ABS-CBN's Karen Davila, the forum will be simulcast on our news channel, ABS-CBN, TV5, and over 300 broadcast stations nationwide. Some senators call on the Commission on Elections to look into the alleged excessive rates charged by some media outlets for campaign advertisements. During a hearing of the Committee on Electoral Reforms at People's Participation, Senator Coco Pimentel said he has been receiving complaints of possible violations of the Fair Elections Act. Some advertising agencies are reportedly able to negotiate for lower rates. He says rates and discounts to candidates should be the same and not subject to negotiation. Another senator, Miguel Zubiri, says deliberately raising advertising rates discriminates against aspirants who lack funds.
Friends in media, we're not here, we're not out for blood. Ang gusto lang po namin, we want to attract the best and the brightest. Fortunately, the best and the brightest do not have the deep pockets that are needed to be able to publish their ads. And because of that, we may not always get the best and the brightest.
The acting director of the COMELEC Campaign Finance Office says the co-body will look into the matter. Get to know some aspirants taking another shot at winning a Senate seat. Former party list representative Nery Colmenares, human rights lawyer Chel Diokno, and civic leader Samira Buto will tackle the country's most pressing issues on our third CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. Catch them with our anchor and senior correspondent Ruth Cabal on Sunday, January 30th at 7 p.m. only here on CNN Philippines. Up ahead on Newsnight, the country removes the mandatory quarantine requirement for Filipinos flying home, and the upcoming bar exams will go digital, first in the country's history. We'll take a closer look after this break. Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. The government is now making a pandemic exit plan, and that includes removing the mandatory quarantine requirement for Filipinos flying home. Trisha Darada has that story.
Starting February 1, fully vaccinated Filipino and foreign travelers coming to the Philippines are no longer required to do mandatory facility-based quarantine. The government is easing travel restrictions and is suspending the country risk classification that tags nations and territories under green, yellow, and red lists. Despite this, incoming passengers must self-monitor for any signs or symptoms for 7 days from arrival. They're also required to present several proofs of vaccination, like a certificate from the WHO, VaxCert-PH, and national or state digital certificate of a foreign government which has accepted VaxCert-PH. All incoming passengers are required to present a negative RT-PCR test result taken within 48 hours prior to departure. Unvaccinated, partially vaccinated, and those with vaccination status that can't be independently verified are still required to undergo facility-based quarantine. The Health Department says the decision is based on science.
Ang sinasabi ng ating mga eksperto, it doesn't make sense anymore because yun pong transmission dito sa ating bansa ay napakataas na. Baka mas mataas pa dun sa mga pinagbabawalan natin ng mga travelers coming from other countries. Hindi po natin kailangan mangamba.
Marami sa ating mga kababayan ang fully vaccinated, and we hope that this would also inspire more of our kababayans to get fully vaccinated. Plus, our tourism workers are fully vaccinated. So kung ganon ang equation, then we felt that it's time to lift the suspension na dapat nagsimula yun nung December 1 pa.
The Philippines will also begin opening its doors to fully vaccinated foreign tourists from non-visa required countries starting February 10. But their passports must be valid for at least 6 months at the time of arrival, and they must have return tickets. They also need to present valid proofs of vaccination. By February 16, fully vaccinated tourists from any country, regardless if it's non-visa required, will be allowed to enter the Philippines.
Makakabangon na po ang tourism industry at makaka-contribute ito ng malaki sa trabaho, kabuhayan, economic growth ng ating bansa.
Lograda says the easing of travel restrictions is part of the government's pandemic exit plan. Trisha Terada, CNN Philippines.
Authorities will announce the new alert level for Metro Manila this weekend. The health department says the national capital region is now down to moderate risk for COVID-19 from a critical level the last 3 weeks. The agency explains infections and hospital admissions are on the decline, but the average number of daily cases this week are still more than double the figures reported before the Omicron surge. In the meantime, the Octa Research Group says the downtrend is not enough reason to shift Metro Manila to alert level 2.
Healthcare utilization is at low risk, but the other metrics are still high. For example, the average daily attack rate will still be high, and the positivity rate will still be above 10%. And I think those will be major considerations in deciding whether to go down to alert level 2.
Octa says it will still take weeks before Metro Manila is considered low risk for the virus. The group projects cases in the region to go down to between 500 to 1,000 daily by mid-February. Some Metro Manila mayors prefer to keep the region under the current restrictions for now. Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte believes alert level 3 should be kept for the first half of February, citing data from Octa. Belmonte adds a number of holidays and festivities will take place during the first 2 weeks of next month, which may again lead to higher transmission. San Juan City is also seeing lower infections, but Mayor Francis Zamora says it is better to wait until cases further go down and that the downtrend is sustained.
77.76% drop in active cases only in 15 days. Base sa trend na ito, mas gusto ko sanang makitang bumaba pa ng konti, araw-araw naman nakukuha natin ang datos. At kung nakikita natin na talagang mabilis naman ang pagbaba ng bilang at umabot nga tayo dun sa point na we all feel that it is again safe to downgrade the alert level to 2, then I will agree.
CNN Philippines is reaching out to other Metro Manila mayors for comment. Uncertainty still lingers with the possibility of more mutations after Delta and Omicron. Experts say vaccines plus masks are key to keeping the public better prepared. In other countries like the United States, high filtration masks are now handed out for free. Our senior correspondent David Santos finds out if the Philippines should follow suit.
As experts now say N95 masks offer the best protection against COVID-19, what do our kababayans have to say?
Mahal naman, tapos hirapan kang huminga.
Sa N95 kasi parang nakukulob yung hininga ko. Kung iisipin natin, mas magastos kung magkasakit. Kaya naisip namin talagang gumamit na ng KN95.
In the US, the Biden administration has begun giving away free N95 masks.
Sa ngayon, wala pa tayong ganong recommendation kagaya doon sa US.
In 2020, President Duterte also ordered the distribution of free cloth masks, but these are now considered least effective to combat hyper-infectious COVID variants. While the health department is now recommending the use of respirators like N95, cheaper options like surgical and cloth masks, it says, are still good enough.
Ang importante natin ngayon titingnan ay yung pagsuot nito na tama ang pagsuot at saka pagsuot nito sa mga lugar na kinakailangan mataas ang protection.
But for a former government consultant, DOH should review its mask guidelines. The recent explosion of COVID cases in Metro Manila were largely blamed on the fast-spreading Omicron also raises some questions whether it's time to upgrade our standards on mask use.
Kung ang problema natin ay ganyan, NCR, which is a densely populated area, despite na cover ka by bakuna, and still nagkaroon tayo ng problema, anong missing problem doon?
The bigger question, can Filipinos afford N95s, which cost more or less 100 pesos each? Dr. Liachon says government should give away free N95s, at least to poor families, where also most of the unvaccinated belong.
Kasi the middle class and the upper class can take care of themselves. But the poor, the only way that they can protect themselves is actually through the mask.
National COVID Task Force Advisor Dr. Ted Herbosa, however, is not dialing down on the idea of free N95s.
I think one of the things na pwede natin gawin talaga ay magbigay ng higher quality mask sa ating mga kababayan na hindi maka-afford nito, no? Very important na yan, lalo na kung high risk sila.
But then there's also the question of supply.
Kasi nga baka maubusan naman ng supply sa ating healthcare workers. So binabalanse natin yan.
Of course, priority healthcare workers natin. But, marami mga hospital if you will not take care of the patients as well.
Mas maganda kung libre na yan. Kasi, kasi po dagdag sa gastusin ng pamilya eh.
Kung magbibigay, mas mabuti.
Pinoys now can only hope the government could deliver for free. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
Adults who received Sinopharm vaccines can now get booster shots. The health department says they can have Sinopharm, AstraZeneca, Moderna, or Pfizer as additional doses. The agency also allowed the use of Sputnik Light as a booster for those who received AstraZeneca, Moderna, Pfizer, and Sinovac.
Paalala lamang po na ang eligible pa lamang sa ating booster shots ay ang mga 18 years old at pataas. Amin din pong nililinaw na ang mga nabanggit na booster doses ay nakadepende pa rin sa available vaccines sa inyong mga vaccination sites o sa mga local governments.
Sinopharm and Sputnik Light, however, cannot be given as boosters for pregnant and breastfeeding mothers. Now, the upcoming bar exams for 2020 and 2021 will go digital for the first time amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Stanley Gaheta walks us through the process.
Chester Salazar will finally take the bar examination this year after almost 2 years of delay. He is in isolation as fully vaccinated examinees need to present negative RT-PCR test results taken within 72 hours before the first exam. Day 1 of the exam is on February 4th, the second is on the 6th. It would also be the first time for takers to use laptops through a downloaded software.
This is the hardest bar examination because hindi lang mental gymnastics or yung kakayanan namin as a future lawyer, but also our capacity, our own health is also at stake.
For the first time in its 120-year history, the Philippine bar exams this year will be digitalized by shifting to the use of laptops instead of traditional handwritten exams, and by allowing not just one, but several venues across the country to be used as test centers. Meanwhile, Attorney Greg Sarmiento took the bar exam a year before the pandemic, the last batch of examinees at a centralized test center. He says even with the changes, he believes it won't compromise the process.
I believe in the integrity naman of the Supreme Court. Pag-type nila sa laptop and then pag-send nila ng answers would go smoothly. In terms of preparation, so it affects their mental preparation as well.
Chief Justice Alexander Hesmundo has pushed the Supreme Court to shift to digitalization, and the pandemic hastened it. On January 24th, the court allowed examinees to keep reviewers in laptops that they will use but warned against cheating. Another prohibition, examinees cannot connect to the internet during the test.
What we have known and heard from the Supreme Court, through especially our bar chairman, is that this is the first time that they mobilized thousands of people to facilitate these bar examinations.
The court will not allow backup computers if examinees spill anything on their laptops. Meanwhile, setting up other testing sites will allow more people to take the exam amid travel restrictions. In Metro Manila, the testing centers will include De La Salle University, University of Makati, FEU Manila, Ateneo Rockwell, and UP Diliman.
We trust in the wisdom of the court and its ability to be able to master the needed manpower and technology to have these bar exams conducted.
There will be a number of changes brought about by the pandemic, but exam takers believe it would not lessen their chances at becoming full-fledged lawyers someday.
Stanley Gahete, CNN Philippines.
Still ahead on Newsnight, it is Team LeBron versus Team Durant yet again for the NBA's annual midseason classic. Find out more about the rest of the starters. And a beloved animated character is ditching her dress for a new look. Details about the makeover for Minnie Mouse after the break. Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Which powerhouse players are set to lead the NBA All-Star teams this year? LeBron James and Kevin Durant are captains again for the annual midseason classic. This is LeBron's 5th straight season leading and 18th straight year playing for an All-Stars team, placing him at second most in the league's history, along with Kobe Bryant. Big names like Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors and Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks also made the pool of starters. And making our way to France, Heart Evangelista has been serving looks and turning heads with her outfits for Paris Fashion Week. The Filipino style icon showed off a Pinoy-made design yesterday, this black and white custom dress from Pinoy designer Mark Boomgarner. Hart also dazzled in head-to-toe Dior at the beginning of the week, and with the outfit reveal came big news. The star told fans that she is now part of the Dior family. Fashion News went on to wear more looks from globally renowned designers, including this pattern Chanel ensemble. And going back to fashion, but this time in the animated world, Mickey Mouse's partner is due for a makeover. Gone is the red polka dot dress. Disney says Minnie Mouse will debut this new look at Disneyland Paris, called the first ultra chic pantsuit for the beloved character. British fashion designer Stella McCartney designed a new look in honor of Women's History Month this March. And that is it for now. Join me again on news.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.